The Labrador wouldn't stop barking. For 3 straight days, Max had stationed himself at the sliding glass door, his deep, guttural warnings echoing through the house as he physically blocked their 2-year-old daughter from entering the playroom. When Sarah finally pressed her husband's ear against the wall where the dog kept pawing, they heard it. A low, vibrating hum that made the drywall pulse against his skin. What they discovered crawling through their walls was so shocking it would haunt their nightmares for years. Before watching, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss another heart-gripping story like this one. It started on a Tuesday afternoon. Sarah Mitchell was folding laundry in the living room when Max, their 6-year-old golden Labrador, suddenly bolted toward the playroom. His bark wasn't the usual excited greeting or the playful yap he used when he wanted attention. This was different, primal, urgent. "Max, enough!" Sarah called out, her voice sharp with exhaustion. Little Emma had been up half the night with a cold, and Sarah's patience was worn thread-thin. But Max didn't stop. He positioned himself directly in front of the sliding glass door that led from the playroom to the backyard, his muscular body tense, hackles raised. Emma toddled toward him, giggling, reaching for her favorite ball that had rolled near the door. The dog moved, not aggressively, but with purpose. He nudged Emma backward with his nose, herding her away from the glass, away from the wall adjacent to it. "What is wrong with you?" Sarah scooped up Emma, who immediately started crying. She glared at Max. "Bad dog. Go to your bed." Max didn't move. His eyes remained fixed on the wall, a low growl rumbling in his chest. That evening, when David Mitchell came home from work, Sarah was at her breaking point. "He's been doing this all day," she said, gesturing toward the playroom where Max still stood sentinel. "I can't get him to move. He won't eat. He just stands there barking at nothing." David walked to the sliding door, peered out at their empty backyard. The grass needed mowing. The neighbors' new beehives sat in neat white boxes along their shared fence line. Everything looked normal. "Maybe he sees a squirrel or something," David offered. "For 6 hours straight?" Sarah's voice cracked. "David, I can't deal with this. Emma's scared of him now. She won't go near the playroom." David grabbed Max's collar. "Come on, boy. Let's go outside." The dog resisted, planting his paws, whining desperately. When David finally managed to drag him away, Max twisted back, still focused on that wall, that door, that invisible threat only he could perceive. "Maybe we should crate him during the day," Sarah suggested that night as they lay in bed. "Just until whatever this is passes." "He's never needed a crate before. He's never acted like this before." Sarah rolled over, her back to her husband. "I'm calling the vet tomorrow. Something's wrong with him." But the next day it got worse. Max's barking intensified. He began pawing at the wall adjacent to the sliding door, his nails scraping against the paint, leaving marks. When Sarah tried to pull him away, he planted himself, immovable, his entire body vibrating with urgency. "That's it," Sarah snapped, reaching for her phone. "I'm calling someone. A trainer, a behaviorist, I don't care. This is insane." Emma started crying from her playpen in the corner. The constant barking had her on edge, fussy, clingy. Sarah felt her chest tighten with frustration. Their peaceful home had become a battlefield, and Max was the enemy disrupting everything. David came home early that afternoon. "I talked to Jim at work. He said his dog went crazy like this once, turned out to be a brain tumor." Sarah's hand flew to her mouth. "Oh, God. We should take him in, get him checked out." David's voice was heavy with resignation. "If it's something serious, we might need to consider." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. That evening, David stood in the playroom, staring at Max with a mixture of frustration and sadness. The dog looked exhausted. His eyes were bloodshot from 3 days of constant vigilance. But still, he wouldn't move from his post. "What are you trying to tell us, boy?" David whispered. Max whined, then did something he'd never done before. He jumped up, placing his paws on the wall itself, scratching frantically at a spot about 4 feet up. Then he barked. Not at the door, not at the backyard, at the wall. "Sarah!" David called. "Come here." She appeared in the doorway, Emma on her hip. "What? Look at him. He's not focused on the door. He's focused on the wall." So maybe he's not seeing something outside. Maybe he's hearing something inside. Sarah's brow furrowed. "Inside the wall?" David approached slowly. Max backed up slightly, still whining, still staring at that spot. David pressed his hand against the drywall. Nothing unusual. Then he leaned in closer, then stop, pressing his ear directly against the surface. His face went pale. Sarah, take Emma upstairs. Right now. What? Why? Just do it. His voice carried an edge of panic she'd never heard before. Sarah's heart hammered as she hurried upstairs. She could hear David on the phone, his voice urgent but muffled. 5 minutes later, he appeared at the bedroom door. I called an exterminator. He's coming now. Emergency call. An exterminator? David, what did you hear? Something alive? Something moving. A lot of something. The exterminator, a weathered man named Frank, arrived within 30 minutes. He carried a thermal imaging camera and a stethoscope-like device. Max, who had finally been coaxed away from the wall with a piece of chicken, watched from the hallway as Frank examined the playroom. Frank pressed his listening device against the wall. His expression shifted immediately. Folks, you need to evacuate this room. Now. What is it? Sarah's voice trembled. Frank moved his thermal camera along the wall. The screen showed a massive heat signature, pulsing and writhing behind the drywall. You've got a colony, a big one. I'd estimate 50 to 60,000 honeybees, maybe more. The room tilted. Sarah grabbed the doorframe. That's impossible, David breathed. We would have seen them. We would have known. Not if they came through from inside the wall cavity. Frank pointed toward the neighbor's yard. Those new hives next door? My guess is a swarm split off, found a crack in your shared fence line, bored through your exterior siding, and started building between your studs. This wall here? He knocked on it. It's completely full. Comb, honey, larvae, and about 50,000 very active bees. Oh my God. Sarah's knees buckled. She sank onto the floor. Emma plays in this room, every day, right next to that wall. Frank's expression was grim. If that glass door had shattered, or if they'd found a crack into your living space, your daughter would have been swarmed. At her size, that many stings. He didn't finish. David's face had gone gray. How close were we? Frank ran his device along the baseboard. See this? He pointed to a hairline crack where the wall met the floor. They were starting to come through. Another day, maybe 2, and you would have had bees in your house. With a toddler in the room, he shook his head. It would have been catastrophic. Sarah began to sob. Great, heaving gasps that shook her entire body. We were going to put him down. We thought Max was sick. We were going to. David dropped to his knees beside the dog, who had crept back into the doorway. Max's tail wagged tentatively, his eyes still fixed on the wall, still protecting them even now. He knew, David whispered, burying his face in Max's fur. You knew, didn't you, boy? You were trying to save her. Frank began setting up equipment, explaining the removal process would take days. The wall would need to be opened, the colony carefully relocated, the honey and comb removed before it rotted and attracted more pests. But Sarah barely heard him. She was staring at Max, at this dog she'd been ready to give up on, this animal she'd called bad, this guardian who had stood watch for 3 days straight without food or rest. I'm so sorry, she whispered, crawling over to him. Max, I'm so sorry. The dog licked her face, then returned his attention to the wall. His job wasn't finished yet. The removal took 4 days. Frank and his team carefully extracted over 70,000 bees, 40 pounds of honeycomb, and discovered that the colony had been there for nearly 3 weeks. The vibrations Max had heard, the pheromones he'd detected, had been imperceptible to human senses. But to him, they'd been a screaming alarm that something was desperately wrong. The veterinarian they'd called for a consultation explained it simply. Dogs can hear frequencies we can't. They can smell chemical signatures through walls. To Max, that hive wasn't hidden. It was obvious. He was trying to tell you in the only way he knew how. When they finally brought Emma back into the playroom, the wall newly repaired and sealed, Max walked the perimeter one final time. Then, satisfied, he lay down in his bed in the corner and slept for 14 hours straight. Sarah sat beside him that evening, running her fingers through his fur. David had taken a photo of the hive during removal, the massive, seething mass that had been growing just inches from where their daughter played. The image would stay on their refrigerator for years, a reminder of what they'd almost lost and who had saved them. We almost gave up on you, Sarah whispered. We thought you were the problem. Max's tail thumped once against the floor. You weren't the problem. You were the answer. The neighbors, horrified by what had happened, relocated their apiary to the far corner of their property. They brought over flowers and apologies, though no one blamed them. Nature finds cracks, finds weaknesses, finds ways in. That's what it does. But sometimes, if we're lucky, nature also provides guardians who see what we cannot, who hear what we miss, who stand watch over what we love most when we're too blind to see the danger right in front of us. Sometimes the line between safety and catastrophe is guarded not by locks or alarms or human vigilance, but by a loyal animal who refuses to abandon his post, who barks until his voice is hoarse, who places his body between danger and innocence, even when the ones he's protecting don't understand. What we dismiss as madness is sometimes the sanest thing in the room. What we fear might be the very thing saving our lives. If this story opened your eyes to the unseen guardians in your own life, don't forget to like this video, comment your thoughts, and subscribe for more powerful stories. Share it with friends and family who have animals they love, because sometimes the things we're ready to give up on are the very things standing between us and disaster. Sometimes what seems like chaos is actually protection we're too human to recognize.